What if the truth you've been searching for is the very thing that could destroy you? Welcome to Gorgeous Chaos, Part 4, the spellbinding conclusion to Ta K, Leigh's Beautiful Mess series. In this final chapter, love and danger collide as Olivia Adler edges closer to unlocking the secrets of her past and the truth of who she really is. Haunted by memories she can't quite place and drawn deeper into the mystery surrounding her identity, Olivia begins to remember, and with every fragment that returns, the danger intensifies. Alexander Burnham, the man who vowed to protect her, is faced with an impossible choice: reveal the truth and risk losing her, or stay silent and risk everything else. With the shadows of her past closing in, Olivia must decide who to trust, what to believe, and how far she's willing to go to reclaim her life and her love. Gorgeous Chaos. Part 4 is more than a love story. It's a high-stakes emotional roller coaster packed with romance, suspense, betrayal, and the power of a truth that refuses to stay buried. Press play and prepare yourself for a powerful finale that will leave you breathless and forever changed. Chapter 26. Gone. Alex, Mo said, jumping up when he saw him running through the glass doors of the hospital into the waiting area. His expression panicked. Everything okay? Where is she? Mo. Who, Livy? Yes, he answered frantically, his eyes scanning the hospital corridors. Is she with Kira? Yeah, don't worry. Carter's in there with her. She just wanted some time alone with her. Alexander exhaled loudly, his momentary panic waning slightly as he turned to head toward the ICU. Alex, wait a second. What he growled, spinning around. Mo raised his eyebrows, wondering why he was so insistent on finding Olivia. Listen, he said calmly, hoping that he would relax. I know things have been off lately between you and Livy, and the rest of us. Really, I'm saying this right now as her friend and not yours. He took a deep breath before continuing, meeting his eyes and giving him an icy stare. You better get your shit together. Stop trying to protect her by keeping information from her. She's been lied to by everyone, including you, her entire life. You'd better tell her whatever you're keeping from her or you'll lose her, and I doubt you'll get her back again. She's giving you a second chance right now. Don't fuck it up. I know she said that she wasn't ready to hear what you have to say, but I'm pretty sure you weren't going to tell her the whole story anyway. You better tell her about her past. All of it. Alexander listened to Mo's words as he spoke, torn about what to do. If he told her, he risked her remembering and sacrificing herself for the sake of her friends. If he didn't tell her, he risked her walking away again. Either way, he'd lose her. But at least in one scenario, she would still be safe. I'm not sure I can do that. Mo, I'm sorry. He lowered his head in defeat as he ran down the corridor toward Kira's room. Olivia sat clutching her friend's hand, hoping that the doctors would be able to bring her out of the coma soon. I hate not being able to talk to you. Care Bear, I hate that all of this has happened to you. A tear fell down her cheek. I hate that this is all my fault. A beep sounded from her phone and she looked down in her lap to see a blocked call coming through. Assuming it was Alexander calling from his office line, she picked up. Hello, Mr. Burnham, she said in a sultry voice. Looking forward to oysters tonight. That's nice. Libby, a strange voice sneered. But you may want to cancel your plans. Her eyes grew wide in shock. The greeting she received on the other line completely unexpected. Who is this, she asked, standing up from her chair and backing up cautiously. That's not important right now. What is important is that I have your little friend with me. A scream sounded through the phone. If you want her to live another day, you need to come to the new boathouse on the Charles. Alone, or she dies. In 20 minutes, or she dies. If anyone follows you, I'll kill them and the girl. Do you understand? Nervous energy coursed through her body, and she slowly nodded her head, her voice stuck in her throat. I said, do you understand? The voice demanded. Yes, she croaked out. I understand. Good. Boathouse, 20 minutes. Alone, or she dies. Olivia hung up, her mind racing about which one of her friends they could have now. Slowly pulling back the door to Kira's recovery room, she scanned the hallway. "Miss Adler," Carter said, noticing her expression. "Is everything all right?" "Yes," she quivered. "It's just hard to see her like this, that's all." He nodded his head in understanding. "Can I get you anything?" She met his eyes and shook her head. "No, I just need to go powder my nose." "Okay." He followed her down the hallway. "I'll be fine on my own." "I don't doubt that. But I'll lose my job if I don't escort you wherever you need to go." Olivia opened her mouth to protest, but didn't want Carter to become suspicious. Stopping in front of the door to the ladies' room, she looked at him. "I'll just be a few minutes." He sent her a reassuring smile. "Take your time. I'll be right outside." A twinge of guilt washed over her for deceiving Carter when he had only been watching out for her. But she had no other option. At least in the privacy of the restroom, she could try to come up with a way to get out of the hospital unnoticed. Taking several deep, steadying breaths, she tried to formulate a plan as she paced back and forth in frustration. A familiar voice sounded in the hallway, asking Carter where she was, and her heart sank even further into her stomach. Not only did she have to get past Carter's protective eyes, but now she also had to sneak by Alexander. She had all but given up any hope and contemplated telling Alexander and Carter exactly what was going on when the bathroom door swung wide open, 6 chipper cheerleaders swarming the room. "I can't believe that asshole dropped her," one of them said. "She'll be out for this season now. And at our first competition, too." Olivia surveyed them, her eyes settling on a girl who appeared to be the same size as her. "Hey," she said, addressing the group before lowering her voice. "Do you all want to make a quick $100? She raised her eyebrows. "I need your help." "Where is she?" Alexander asked Carter as he hurriedly ran up to him in the hospital corridor. "She's using the restroom, sir. She seemed pretty upset and just needed a minute." He gestured with his head to the door of the bathroom. "Is everything okay?" "I don't know," Alexander replied, watching as a group of cheerleaders walked past them and into the bathroom. "I don't know what the hell to think anymore." Carter simply nodded. "Well, I'm here to keep an eye on her, sir. She's in good hands." Alexander met his eyes. "Thank you." "Anytime, sir." Several anxious minutes passed as the two men waited for Olivia to emerge from the bathroom. Finally, the door swung open and they looked in its direction, their hopeful expressions falling when the group of cheerleaders filtered out. "OMG," one of them squealed, running up to Alexander. "You're Alexander Burnham, aren't you, Macy? Look. It's really him." Alexander stood back in shock, Carter glancing over their heads as another girl in a cheerleading jacket walked out of the bathroom in the opposite direction, obviously completely uninterested in the local celebrity. "Ladies," he said, "this is a hospital. Please leave Mr. Burnham alone." "Just one picture." "Please," the short redhead begged, placing her hands together in a pleading manner. Carter looked to his boss to see what he wanted to do, sighing. Alexander nodded his head. "Okay, one picture." He beamed his brilliant smile as the group of teenagers piled around him, and Carter snapped the photo. "I'll never get used to that," he said a few minutes later after saying goodbye to the excited cheerleaders. "I imagine it must be difficult. It would certainly irritate me." Alexander shrugged. "Yeah. But my public relations rep says the more positive publicity, the better. And if that means taking pictures with a few teenage cheerleaders, I'm happy to do it." He glanced at the bathroom door, wondering what was keeping Olivia. "She's been in there for a while, hasn't she?" "She has," Carter responded, looking at his watch. "It's been over 10 minutes. I know she was upset, but..." Alexander strode over to the door, pushing it slightly ajar. "Olivia, are you okay?" He listened for a response. "Nothing." "Olivia, love?" Still nothing. Pushing the door open, his heart sank in his chest when the bathroom was empty. "Shit!" he screamed, running down the hallway. Sir Carter bellowed out, "You stay here. Question everyone, including those goddamn cheerleaders." "Yes, sir." Alexander continued running frantically down the hospital corridors, looking for any sign of his Olivia. "Fuck!" he shouted when he noticed a cheerleader's jacket stuffed in the garbage canister in the lobby. Grabbing his cell phone, he tried calling her. After the 5th time that she didn't pick up, he became even more concerned. "Marshall," he shouted into his cell. "It's Olivia. She's missing from the hospital. Track her phone." "Yes, sir." Marshall hung up and returned to the desk, booting up the tracking software on her computer. She punched in Olivia's cell phone number and, within moments, found her location. "Sir, it's me." She spoke softly into another cell phone. Burnham called. "He knows she's gone. Better tell Lucas to hurry up. He's running out of time. I'll stall as long as I can." "Thank you, Cheryl. Make it quick. I can only give you a few minutes." Chapter 27, A Better Place. Olivia raced toward the Charles River, her eyes searching through the torrential downpour for the enormous boathouse, running along the riverbank. It seemed as if it got further away with each step. Finally reaching her destination, she took a deep breath and slowly opened the door, water dripping down her body. "Hello," she called out. "Is anyone here?" Cautiously, she walked up an aisle of rowing boats stacked on beams, listening for some sort of clue as to where she should be headed. A scream sounded, and Olivia slowly followed the source through the warehouse-sized place, her stomach churning when she saw Melanie standing in the far corner, her wrists bound in front of her. "Libby, don't, please," she cried out. She paused, her eyes settling on someone standing behind Melanie and holding a knife to her throat. "Lucas!" She squinted, unable to believe her eyes. It was the guy they had all met and partied with in Vegas. She had never thought anything of it when he said he was from Boston. Now Olivia was starting to think it was all a setup. "Here's how this is going to work. Libby." Lucas sneered. "You scream. I cut her throat. You yell for help. I cut her throat. You do anything to draw attention at all. I cut her throat. Understand?" Olivia slowly nodded her head, her eyes wide as she scanned the boathouse for anything she could potentially use to disarm him. "I thought we warned you what would happen if you didn't come forward." "Libby, I don't know what you're talking about." "Lucas," she said quietly as she took carefully measured steps toward Melanie. "Yes, you do, Libby." He pushed the blade even harder against Melanie's neck, tears streaming from her frightened blue eyes. Olivia took a deep breath. "You're right. I do. Lucas, why don't you let Melanie go and take me instead?" "Libby, no!" Melanie shouted. Olivia's eyes met hers and she gave her scared friend a reassuring look. "It doesn't work that way," Lucas shouted, his voice showing his agitation. "I'm only supposed to encourage you to figure it out. That's all. I'm not allowed to kill you. That's someone else's job." "Lucas, I'm the one you want, not Melanie. Hurting her won't make me figure out whatever I'm supposed to." She took another step, closing the distance. Her heart beat frantically in her chest. "Don't come any closer." "Libby," Lucas demanded, digging the blade even further into Melanie's skin, blood seeping out of her neck. He pushed her hair back and leaned down, his lips only a breath away from her neck. "Remember what I told you. You make a sound, you die." Melanie bit her lip, trying to hold in the scream that wanted to escape her mouth from the pain of the blade cutting into her throat. Olivia stood only a few feet from Melanie and Lucas. She could try to grab the hand he was using to hold the knife, freeing Melanie, but that would only work if she could momentarily distract him. "Lucas, maybe if you gave me a hint about what I'm supposed to remember, then I can help you, and we can put an end to all of this." "Do you think they'd actually tell me that?" He threw his head back, laughing, and Olivia took the opportunity to try to disarm him. Unfortunately, she wasn't quick enough. Alexander nervously paced the lobby of the hospital as he waited for Marshall to send him the location of Olivia's cell phone, hoping that she hadn't left the building. After an excruciatingly long time, a text finally came through. Dashing out the doors of the hospital, he jumped into the idling SUV. "Martin, over to the big boathouse on the Charles," he shouted. "Step on it. Step on." Martin peeled out of the hospital and drove toward the river. Several minutes later, he pulled up alongside the street. Alexander leaped out of the car, running toward the boathouse, not knowing what he would find when he got there. Quietly opening the door to the huge storage yard, he heard a scuffle echoing through the football field-sized warehouse. Turning the corner, his eyes grew wide in terror. Olivia. Everything seemed to happen in slow motion as he ran toward her. A tall man that Alexander had never seen before had her pinned to the ground, as she desperately tried to wrestle a knife from his hand. Melanie lay on the ground about 10 feet away, bleeding profusely from her neck. He inhaled quickly, looking over her lifeless body. There was no way she would be able to survive a wound like that. How was he going to explain that to his brother? He turned his attention back to the one person he could save, his Olivia. His heart dropped when he saw the man press the knife against her body, far too close to her heart. "Come on, Libby. I thought you were stronger than that." Lucas breathed in her face. She was hopelessly trying to point the knife away from her chest and toward him. "Lucas, let go of the knife. Remember, they said you couldn't hurt me." He laughed. "Actually, they said I couldn't kill you. As long as you're alive, it doesn't matter what I do to you." He pushed her arms over her head, keeping her pinned to the ground and pressing the knife against her throat. Olivia was using all her power to try to get Lucas off her, losing strength. The knife drew a thin line of blood. "Lucas, please, just let me go, and I promise I'll figure out whatever it is you guys are looking for." She opened her eyes and saw Alexander running toward them. "Hurry," she thought. "Someone's coming." "Lucas, you better get off me." He turned to look, releasing the pressure on the knife just as Alexander approached. "Get the fuck off her!" Within seconds, Lucas was thrown against the hard ground. Olivia lay perfectly still, frantically trying to calm her nerves, listening to punches being thrown. After just a few seconds that seemed like an eternity, she felt Alexander put his arms around her. "Damn it, Olivia. Why the hell did you sneak out of the hospital?" he demanded. "You had me worried sick. That fucker called me. He said if I didn't come here that he'd kill..." She trailed off, her eyes settling on Melanie. "I'm so sorry. I should have never left you alone. Are you okay?" "No, Alex. I most certainly am not okay." She stood up and ran over to where Melanie lay on the ground. "No," she screamed upon seeing her lifeless body. She bent down, trying to find a pulse. "Come on, Mel," she begged, cradling her friend in her arms as she sat in a pool of her blood. "Don't you dare leave me here." Tears fell down her face as she tried to save her friend. "Please." Her hands were covered with Melanie's blood as she continued looking for a pulse, refusing to acknowledge the cold, hard truth of what she had just witnessed. Alexander looked down while Olivia tried to save her friend. He did the only thing he could think of. He called his sister. "Carol, it's me. Have Dave get to the big boathouse on the Charles immediately. There's been an incident. Someone attacked Olivia and her friend," he said, his chin quivering as he turned away so Olivia couldn't overhear his conversation. "You should probably call Tyler, too." He took a deep breath before continuing. "Melanie's dead. Please hurry." Alexander turned back to where Olivia sat hugging her friend in her arms. He walked up behind her, placing his hand on her shoulder as she cried, her chest heaving from her devastating sobs. "Olivia, love, please." He didn't know what to say. Olivia straightened her back, attempting to wipe her eyes with her hand, smudging Melanie's blood all over her face. "I need to get her to the hospital. She's been stabbed. Alex, and it's all because of me," she cried out. She tried resuscitating her friend in a final act of desperation. "Olivia, please," he begged her as he crouched down next to her. Placing his fingers against Melanie's neck, he shook his head dejectedly when there was no pulse to be found. "She's gone. Love, I'm so sorry." "No!" Olivia cried out, hugging Melanie in her arms, holding her tight, desperate for her to wake up and everything to be a bad dream. She clutched her friend as EMTs and police officers swarmed the location. "Olivia, please, let go of her. She's in a better place," he pleaded with her, unable to hide his own tears. That very well could have been her lying there. Alexander was right. She needed to be strong for her friend. Taking a deep breath, she stood up, leaving Melanie's body on the ground. She was in a complete daze as she watched the paramedics check her non-existent vitals. She sank to the ground as crime scene technicians roped off the area, taking photos. She wanted to kill Lucas when she saw Carol's husband, David, place him in handcuffs and haul him off to the police station. She howled when she saw the medical examiner zip up Melanie's body bag. "Olivia!" Alexander's voice brought her back as she watched the coroner's van drive off with her friend. She immediately felt sick to her stomach just looking at him. "I'm done. Alex, I can't live this way anymore." She raised herself off the ground and started to walk away, not caring that she was covered in blood. "My sister told me about the letter left at Kira's house." Olivia stopped in her tracks, spinning around, her eyes full of venom. "So you're here to tell me to not do anything stupid, am I right? Well, you're in luck because I have no idea what those fuckers are even after not even one clue." She looked at him, his expression grim. "But you do, don't you?" He remained silent as Olivia stalked over to him, standing a mere breath away. "You need to tell me everything you know, Alex. Now. I'm done being left in the dark and letting you make all the decisions for me. I'm an adult. I need to make my own decisions. There's something going on, and these people are targeting my friends." "It's not about that. Olivia, I wanted to tell you everything, but you said you didn't want to talk about any of that, and now I can't. Not after seeing that letter. Your life is in danger." She threw her head back, laughing sarcastically. "You think?" "No, you don't understand," he said, pleading with her. "If I tell you and you figure it all out, they'll kill you. As long as you remain ignorant of what they're after, you can't be touched. They're desperate for it, and you're the only one who can help them. It's the only thing keeping you alive." "But my friends, Alex," she cried out, thinking about two of her closest friends and what they had to endure all because of her. "They're going after my friends." She glared at him. "They killed Mel. She's gone, and I was thinking that it's all my fault." She took a deep breath before continuing. "But it's not. Alexander, this is all your fault. I hope you can sleep well tonight with Melanie's blood on your hands." She turned to walk away. "I'm sorry, Olivia. I just can't risk losing you again. You've got to understand," he begged, running to catch up to her, desperate for her to grasp where he was coming from. Olivia paused, looking deep into his eyes. "You can't risk losing me," she hissed, her chin quivering. "Well, Alex, you just did." She pushed past him, bolting in the direction of the hospital. "Olivia, please," he shouted, watching as she ran away from him. Again. Chapter 28 for Melanie. Olivia ran back to the hospital, ignoring Alexander as he followed her. She was hysterical and needed her friends. They still had no idea what had happened to Melanie, and she didn't know if she was strong enough to tell them. Guilt overwhelmed her when she noticed Tyler slumped in the corner of the waiting room, sobbing. Mo saw her and quickly ran over to her, wrapping his arms around her, not caring that she was covered in blood. She bawled uncontrollably into his chest. "It's okay, baby girl, let it all out." He soothed her tears, rubbing her back. Alexander looked down at Olivia in Mo's arms and felt overwhelming remorse for what had happened. Could he really have prevented it? At what cost? Once Olivia's tears began to subside a bit, Mo pulled back, looking down at her tear-stained face. "Does Bridget know?" Olivia shook her head. "I haven't called anyone yet. I know David was going to be notifying her parents, but no one knows yet, except for poor Tyler over there." She looked up and saw Alexander hovering just a few feet away, his eyes sad and pleading. She turned toward him, glaring. "Please leave," she demanded. Mo gave her a questioning look. "I can't stand to look at you right now." "Alex," she hissed, "I need my friends, not you." She turned to walk away, wanting to be alone. Alexander reached out and grabbed her arm. "Please, Olivia, love." Mo immediately shot his arm out, grabbing Alexander's. "Let her go!" He glared at him and he begrudgingly released his hold on Olivia. She darted down the hallway, hiding herself in the closest bathroom, rushing to the sinks. She scrubbed at her skin in a feeble attempt to remove Melanie's dried blood from her body. Screaming in frustration, she collapsed on the floor. She buried her head in her lap, her tears soaking her blood-stained jeans as she thought how everything had taken such a horrible turn in the past few days. "Olivia, are you in there?" A gentle voice called out as her cries began to subside a short while later. She raised her head out of her lap and wiped her eyes, pulling back the door to the bathroom and staring into Bridget's watery eyes. I'm so sorry, Bridge. She wrapped her arms around her friend, clutching onto her. Hey, shut up! This is not your fault. You've got to stop thinking that, she cried out, tears flowing down her face. Olivia hated how much everyone in her life seemed to be crying lately, including herself. She clung to Bridget, never wanting to let her out of her sight, afraid that something horrible would happen to her as well. Come on, Libby. Everyone's here. We need you. We can't go through this without you. You can't go through this alone, either. Okay? She nodded and allowed Bridget to lead her to the waiting room, hoping that Alexander had left. As soon as she entered, she couldn't keep from feeling guilty for how Tyler was feeling. His normal exuberant stature gone. All that was left was an empty shell of a man. Giving Bridget a reassuring look, she made her way over to him. Tyler? She wrapped her arms around the younger version of Alexander. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault, she sobbed. He looked at her through his bloodshot eyes. It's not your fault, Libby. And it's not my brother's fault either. He told me everything. He whimpered. If Mel was in your shoes, I'd do the same thing. I love her. He took a steadying breath, trying to get his emotions under control. I guess that's one of the things I learned being with her, that it's not worth it to hold grudges. Life is precious. Libby, don't use this as an excuse to push Alex away. He loves you. He won't survive without you. Don't blame him for this. He didn't kill Mel. That fucker, Lucas, did. If there's anyone you should be angry at, it's him, not the person who worships the ground you walk on. I've just lost the one girl I thought I could spend the rest of my life with. I wish I told her that while she was still alive. Olivia watched in shock as he stood up and walked away. As she processed his words, she was unable to shake the thought that, had Alexander been honest with her from the beginning, Mel would still be alive. Miss Adler, a voice whispered, bringing her back from her thoughts. Olivia looked up to see a couple in their late 50s standing in front of her. They had obviously just been crying. My name is Harold Brooks. A man with gray hair said, This is my wife, Sandra. He gestured to the tall blonde woman standing next to him. We're Melanie's parents. Olivia stood up and embraced them as she tried to find the words that told them that their daughter's death was all her fault. We just want to thank you for everything you tried to do for our little girl today, Melanie's father said, his voice shaky as he surveyed Olivia, noticing his daughter's dried blood on her clothes. I'm so sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Brooks. Olivia sobbed even harder, knowing that Melanie would still be alive if it wasn't for her. Enough with the tears, Sandra said, releasing her hold on Olivia. Melanie would hate to think that we were all here crying over her. She would never forgive herself if that was the case. She'd want us to only think of the happy moments we shared with her, and that's exactly what we'll do. She trailed off, unable to follow her own words. She's always been a little demanding, hasn't she? Olivia asked as she laughed through her tears. Harold Brooks smiled. She sure is, or was. His face became overwhelmed with emotion once more. It was wonderful to meet you. I'm sure you have friends and family that you want to be with. But please, let me know the plans for her services whenever you know of them. Olivia gave them a compassionate look, her expression soft. Actually, I wanted to talk to you and your friend, Mo, about that, Sandra said, glancing at Mo standing just a few feet away. He immediately walked over. We were hoping that your band wouldn't mind playing a memorial show at the bar. She always loved going there to watch you perform. And it would mean a lot if we can pay our respects to her in a way that she would have wanted, with laughter instead of tears, at a place she felt at home. We both grew up in New Orleans, and this is how we like to say goodbye, a celebration of her life, not a sad reminder of her death. Olivia glanced at Mo. What do you think? She asked. I mean, what about Kira? He stopped her. Livy, Kira would want us to do this. For Melanie. Olivia nodded her head in agreement. For Melanie. After leaving the hospital that evening, Olivia stormed through her house, slamming doors. She knew full well that it wasn't going to fix anything, but it certainly made her feel better. She was so angry with Alexander. She gave him a choice: tell her what she wanted to know or risk losing her. She couldn't believe that he continued to keep secrets from her, not when it nearly tore them apart. She wanted to scream. Then she heard her mama's words again. Music is the best solution to any problem. Olivia leaned her head back and looked at the ceiling as if talking to the sky. I sure hope you're right, Mama. I could really use a solution to this chaotic world I've found myself in. She ran up to the third floor of her house, sat down at the piano, and did what she did best. She lost herself in the music, and for a minute, everything was okay. When Olivia finally came out of the music room, she had no idea what time it was or even how long she had been in there. Time always seemed to stand still when she surrounded herself with beautiful lyrics and melodies. It was the only thing that made her forget about everything. But outside the walls of her music room, the cruel reality of what had happened set in. Reluctantly, Olivia walked down the 2 flights of stairs and into the living room. Her stomach growled loudly, and she couldn't remember the last time she had actually eaten. After the past several days, she had no desire to cook, so she ordered takeout from her and Kira's favorite Chinese bistro. She grabbed her purse and started to head out to pick up some wine. As she walked down her front steps, she purposely ignored the black SUV sitting outside of her house, or, at least, she ignored it for about 2 seconds, her hard stare softening when her eyes met Alexander's. She was furious at him, but deep down, she knew that she was still madly in love with him. After selecting a few bottles of wine at the local liquor store, she walked back to her house, arriving just as her food was being delivered. Alexander stood on the doorstep, paying her regular delivery guy. She snatched it out of his hand before turning away from him and entering her house, slamming the door behind her. Not even a thank you, he shouted through the closed door. Thank you. Okay, she replied sarcastically. Olivia, please. Can we talk, he asked, his voice soft and full of pain, his head resting on the door. You had your chance to come clean, Alex. You chose to put your own needs above mine. So no, we can't talk. I love you, Olivia. She lowered herself and sat against the wall, leaning her head on the door. I love you, too, Alex, with all my heart. And maybe that's exactly where I should keep you, in my heart, but out of my life. You can't mean that, he said quietly. I don't know, maybe I do. I'm only trying to protect you. Olivia, keep you safe. You have to understand where I'm coming from with all of this. I thought I lost you all those years ago. And when I found out that you were alive, I promised myself that I'd never let anything bad happen to you again. So I need to keep you in the dark. For now. Though, his heart raced when he heard the door open. He met Olivia's large brown eyes. Unless you're ready to tell me everything you know, please go. She turned and slammed the door in his face again, fighting back tears. She walked into the kitchen and put her food on a plate. After pouring a glass of wine, she sat in the bay window with her dinner and stared out at the black SUV into the eyes of the man she knew she would always love, no matter what. Chapter 29. Wait for you. The following morning, Olivia was woken up by a loud banging at her door. She stretched her neck, sore from having fallen asleep in the bay window. She looked outside and saw that the black SUV was empty. Groaning, she got up and walked over to the door, checking the peephole to see who was outside, even though she knew who it was. Are you ready to tell me everything? Alexander, she asked through the closed door. Olivia, he said with a hint of urgency in his voice. It's Kira. She's awake. She swung the door open, her eyes wide. Really? Alexander nodded. She jumped into his arms. Take me to see her. Please, she said, her voice soft as she nuzzled against his neck, inhaling his scent. Oh, Olivia, do you have any idea how much I love you? You have to believe that I never meant I love you, too. Alexander, she interrupted, pulling out of his embrace and hardening her stare. I just don't like you very much right now, and I refuse to be in a relationship with someone who keeps secrets from me. Just take me to the hospital to see my best friend. Alexander grabbed her hand and led her down the steps toward the waiting SUV. Within minutes, He pulled up in front of the hospital and Olivia ran out of the car toward the sliding glass doors without even saying goodbye. "Olivia, wait!" he shouted, jumping out of the car to catch up to her. "What is it?" "Alex," she asked, spinning around, an irritated expression on her face. "I need to go see Kira. Do you want me to come with you? It's a free country." She shrugged. "Do what you want." "Where does this leave us?" he asked, his eyes full of hope. Annoyed, she crossed her arms in front of her body. "In the same place we were the last time you decided to keep secrets from me. I can't trust you. I can't spend the rest of my life with someone never knowing if they're keeping me in the dark on matters that concern me. All in the guise of trying to protect me, I won't do it." She spun on her heels, walking through the doors of the large brick building. Alexander chased after her, not caring that the SUV was parked in a tow-away zone, and found her at the registration desk. "Olivia, please, tell me how I can fix this and earn back your trust. Whatever it is, I'll do it." She put down the pen after signing in and turned to face him, looking at his disheveled appearance. There were circles underneath his eyes, and he had facial hair coming in. His clothes were wrinkled from sitting in his car all night. He looked broken, but she refused to feel guilty. It was all his fault, no matter what his brother had tried to convince her of the day before. "All I want from you is the one thing you refuse to give me. I want to know who I am, who I was. Why are these people trying to take my friends away from me? Why did they kill Mel? What is it they think I know?" Alexander exhaled loudly and ran his hands through his hair, contemplating what he should do. He was at a crossroads. He tried to put himself in Olivia's position. How would he feel if he found out that his entire life had been a lie, and that the people he had come to trust continued to keep secrets from him? "You want to know who you are?" He took a step closer and looked in her eyes, their bodies almost touching. "Your name is Olivia Marilyn DeLuca. You were born on October 16th, almost 29 years ago, and you were the most adorable baby I had ever seen." He smiled at the memory. "Granted, I was only 2 the first time I held you, but I knew then that I would do everything in my power to keep you safe." He brushed that same errant curl out of her face before continuing. "You were such a pain in the ass when you were a kid, always irritating the piss out of me. We would fight, we would argue, but then we would always apologize to each other because we both knew, deep down, that we couldn't survive without each other." His voice began to tremble with emotion as he continued talking. He brought Olivia's body flush with his and held her face in his hands. "This is what we do, Olivia. This is who we are. Not much has changed since we were kids. We fight. We piss each other off. But at the end of the day, we realize that no matter how mad and angry we are at each other, there is something much bigger at work here. You can stay angry at me all you want, love, but you know, deep down, that you cannot live without me. You love me just as much as I love you, and nothing will ever come between that." He wiped the tear that had fallen down her cheek and stared into her eyes, searching for an answer. "I can't do this right now," she said quietly, turning away from him and heading down the long corridor to the ICU. "I'll wait for you, Olivia. I'll always wait for you." She continued walking, refusing to turn around to face him, knowing that his words were true. Libby Kira weakly cried out after she saw her practically run into the hospital room. Olivia rushed to her side, hugging her friend. She looked awake, but groggy. "Ouch, not so hard." "I'm sorry." Tears streamed down Olivia's face. "I'm just so glad that you're okay." "What happened?" Kira asked, her voice raspy. "I can't remember anything." She clutched Kira's hands in hers, looking down at her frail frame, not wanting to tell her anything, not knowing if she could even say the words. "Don't worry about any of that right now, Care Bear. You just worry about getting your ass out of this hospital bed." Okay, Libby." She squeezed Olivia's hand. "I heard about Melanie." She quivered, tears welling in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, it's all my fault." Olivia sobbed, looking down. "Stop it, Libby. Mo said you were going to say that. He doesn't understand why you're blaming yourself, and neither do I." She scolded her. "You couldn't have prevented any of this from happening." "Okay." Olivia's chin trembled, wondering if she would ever be able to stop blaming herself for what had happened to Melanie and Kira. The guilt wore her down. Looking into Kira's green eyes, she simply nodded, not wanting to talk about it anymore. Instead, the two girls held each other and mourned the loss of their friend, reminiscing about all the good times they shared. "Oh, good. You're here," Mo said, breaking the moment and carrying a few cups of coffee. "I tried calling your phone and you weren't answering, so I called Alex. I'm assuming you got the message." "Good assumption," she replied sarcastically, wiping her tears. He raised his eyebrow at her, silently questioning if everything was all right. She knew that she would have to tell him what was going on, but she wasn't ready yet. "Well, I'll give you two some privacy." She got up from her chair. "I'll be back in a little bit to check on you." "Okay, Care Bear." Kira smiled weakly at her. "You got it." Olivia turned to leave. "Oh, and Libby?" "Yes," she replied, facing Kira. "Whatever stick crawled up your ass these past few weeks, please remove it." Olivia stared at her friend in shock. "What are you talking about?" "You being a bitch to us and everyone around you, including Alexander," she said, her voice raised. She glanced at Mo as he clutched her hand. Her expression immediately softened when she met his eyes. "This whole incident made me realize how much I appreciate what I have in my life, including the people in it." She met Olivia's gaze. "I love you, Libby. You know that. But you've got to stop shutting people out just because they fuck up and make a mistake." Olivia looked down, feeling guilty that she had treated her friend so poorly, but at the same time, she was the reason that Kira had been hurt and that Melanie was dead. She could put a stop to everything if Alexander would just come clean to her. But he refused. "It's not as simple as that." "Kira," she exhaled. "Well, humor me then." She smirked. "I've got nothing on my busy schedule today, except healing from a few bullet wounds." Her voice was heavy with sarcasm. Olivia was happy that the attack didn't seem to diminish Kira's spirit all that much. She retreated back into the hospital room, pulling up a chair next to Mo. "Well, I guess you both should probably hear this." She proceeded to tell Mo and Kira about her dad being alive and running into him at McFadden's. Then she told them about the letter that Carol had found in Kira's house. She struggled to fight back the tears as she told them about Lucas killing Melanie to try to get Olivia to remember whatever it was they wanted her to. "I know he's still keeping information from me, and the reason he's doing it is to protect me. He says that if I remember, he could lose me." "Do you really blame him?" "Libby, look what's happened to poor Mel. And me." Kira screeched. "I can't believe you're really going to stay angry at him for keeping you safe." She trailed off, wishing she had someone looking out for her when she was attacked. "Do you have any idea who's behind everything?" "Maybe that will help," Mo said calmly. Olivia took a deep breath. "I don't see how. Nobody knows who is pulling the strings here. Carol and Alexander have apparently worked tirelessly trying to figure it all out, but no one has a clue. The only person they know of is this Mark Kiddish guy, but he's just a hired goon. Even then, there's no hard evidence that he's actually involved, at least not enough that the police can open an investigation into him. Regardless, if he's out of the picture, they'll just replace him with someone new. It won't end until they have what they want. And what they want is me, my memories. I'm the best shot at saving my friends, but only if I can remember. Alexander knows that, so he's keeping my past from me. He knows what they want and he won't tell me." "Wait a sec," Kira said. "What about your dad? Can't you talk to him about it? Carol is worried about me doing that. She said that his identity has been kept a secret for a reason, and until they can figure it out. It's best that I stay as far away from him as possible so that he doesn't get hurt. Or worse. I have no way of getting in touch with him anyway." "Don't do anything stupid, Livy," Mo said. "Don't think about that letter." "How can I not think about that letter?" she shrieked, standing up and glaring down at her two friends. "It pretty much said that I'm the reason my friends are being targeted." She took a deep breath before continuing. "Right now, I'm the best shot at keeping everyone safe. But the only way I can do that is by figuring out what these guys are after. And the only person who can help me with that is Alexander. His refusal to tell me what I need is putting my friends' lives in jeopardy." Olivia spun on her heels and stormed out of the room, not wanting to listen to her friends try to talk any sense into her. She knew she sounded irrational, but she refused to admit that Alexander was doing the right thing by keeping her past from her. Chapter 30 Come Clean. As Olivia walked through the front door of McFadden's and up to the second floor several weeks later, she was unsure of whether she would have enough inner strength to get through that night. Waves of emotion rushed over her when she saw the swarms of people there for Melanie's memorial celebration. Huge photos of the chipper blonde adorned all the walls, people scribbling their goodbyes on them through their tear-soaked eyes, feeling a lump form in her throat. Olivia dashed to the bar, desperately wanting to forget about everything that had happened, or at least down a few drinks to try to numb the pain that was starting to take over. After gulping back the amber liquid, she began to relax. "Is this seat taken?" Olivia stilled at the voice. She sighed and turned to face Alexander. "No, have a seat." He flagged down a bartender and placed his drink order, Olivia signaling for another drink, as well. "Carol said that she saw you down at the station earlier." He attempted to make small talk. Yeah, they had more questions about Lucas and his brother, Dylan, if that really is his brother. Alexander nodded, proceeding with caution now that Olivia was finally talking to him. Over the past few weeks, things had been awkward between them. She continued to live at her old brownstone on Commonwealth Avenue, but would let him in anytime he appeared at her door. She rebuked every attempt he made to help her see why he was refusing to tell her what those guys were after. Instead, they would sit on the couch together in silence, Olivia glaring at him, hoping that he would finally crack and come clean. "How many times are they going to have you go down to answer more questions? I'll talk to Carol and have them come to your house. You shouldn't have to be inconvenienced." Olivia took a sip of her fresh drink and turned to face him, noticing how gaunt he looked. It was obvious that he hadn't been sleeping well. Guilt overwhelmed her conscience for causing the painful appearance that he exuded. She felt the same way. She hated life without Alexander, and she wanted nothing more than to go back to the way things were before, although she knew that too much had happened for that to be possible. "I don't mind," she said. "Have they found anything?" She shook her head in resignation. "No. They haven't been able to uncover any evidence linking Melanie's death to anyone other than Lucas, no matter what I've told them happened in the boathouse. They've questioned me regarding what I know about Mark Kiddish, but that's been a dead end, too. As far as they're concerned, his name change to Donovan O'Loughlin was reasonable after his father's disappearance, and he runs a legitimate consulting business with strong ties to the community. Without any actual proof that this guy is behind it, there's not much that can be done. They told me the same thing. The phone call was traced to Lucas's cell, so they couldn't find anything there, and the asshole has refused to answer any questions, other than insisting that he was working alone. He's definitely playing the deranged psycho rather well. So, based on his answers and the fact that they've found nothing on his supposed brother, Dylan, it's not looking like this will lead back to anyone other than him." "I'm sorry," he said, shifting nervously on his bar stool. "How's Kira doing?" "Better. She still has no memory of what happened that night, and neither Mo nor I really want to be the one to tell her." She glanced at him, and he gave her a knowing look before she returned her attention to the drink in front of her. It's almost like her brain is trying to protect her from remembering what she probably endured those 12 hours. She's starting to perk up a bit, and she doesn't appear to be in too much pain anymore. "I was just there with her before I had Agent Marshall drive me here." "Thanks for that, for having her drive you." Olivia turned her head and gave him an icy stare before softening her expression, almost pleading with him to finally tell her the reason why he wants her to have constant protection, to tell her what those men are after. "You need to understand where I'm coming from here, Olivia." He answered the question that was written plain as day on her face. She sighed. "I get it, Alex. I really do. I understand your reasons. And so do the police. Unfortunately, they're on your side here. But I don't want to be left in the dark. I don't want you keeping all this information, holding it over me, saying that it's too dangerous for me to even know about my own past. Let me make those decisions." Olivia got up from her bar stool, needing to distance herself from him before she broke down and jumped back into his arms. "That house in Newport," he shouted, getting her attention. She turned around to face him. Her eyes narrowed as she crossed her arms defensively in front of her body. He lowered his voice. "The one you had me stop at when we were there for the marathon." She glared at him. "What about it, Alex?" she hissed. He ran his hands through his hair, looking rather vulnerable. "We used to go there a fair bit when we were kids. Your mom would take us up there from time to time. There was such a huge yard, and we would run all over playing hide and seek." "Why did we go there, Alex?" "Who lived there?" she asked, not sure if she really wanted to know. He took a deep breath. "Your grandparents live there." Olivia let out a small cry. Her lower lip trembled, as in present tense. "Yes," he answered quietly. "Harris House. Your mother's maiden name was Harris." He hoped that maybe if he started to slowly feed her information about her past, she would forget about wanting to know what Mark Kiddish was after. As she took in what he was saying, a hurt look spread across her face. She seethed with anger when she realized that he was keeping so much information from her. She had a family that she didn't even know about, but he knew. She spun on her heels, needing to get up on stage to start their performance. "Olivia, love," Alexander cried out. "I'm sorry, I should have told you sooner." She refused to turn around, instead walking onto the stage, sitting down at the piano. "Hey, Livy." Mo greeted her as he strapped on his guitar. "Everything okay?" He nodded to where Alexander was standing, imploring her with his eyes. She laughed. "You know what, Mo, I have no idea how to even answer that question anymore." "Neither do I," he said before turning and stepping up to the microphone. "Good evening, friends. We'd like to start by thanking everyone for being here tonight to celebrate the life of Melanie Erica Brooks, beloved daughter and friend to all of you." Mo took a deep breath before continuing. "Mel's parents asked us to play a memorial for her here tonight, and a few people are going to get up and talk about her. After that, they're going to open the upstairs for everyone, and we'll play our normal set. It's what Mel would have wanted." Mo was starting to crack. Olivia looked at the crowd that had gathered to pay their respects. She immediately felt the need to be the strong one that night. Many of her work friends were gathered in the audience, huddling together, shedding tears as they thought about the bubbly girl who sat at the front desk of the wellness center nearly every day. Her eyes continued scanning the room, finding Tyler standing in the corner, Alexander and Carol comforting and supporting him. Olivia grabbed the microphone off the piano and stood up, needing to do something to try and mute the sobs that echoed through the large room. "Melanie wouldn't have wanted us to be crying for her. We need to remember the girl she was." Olivia trailed off. She took a deep breath, trying to subdue the lump that was forming in her throat, tears threatening to fall once more. "I guess I'm one to talk." The audience laughed politely, many of them wiping their eyes. "I remember the day Melanie came in for her interview at the wellness center. I knew right then and there that she was perfect for the job. She had so much energy. You couldn't help but smile when she greeted you at the front desk. She was always cheerful, no matter what was going on in her life. You see, that's the thing about Mel. You never really knew what was going on in her life. It was never about Mel. With her, it was always about you. She was always more concerned with your problems than her own. She was a psych major at Northeastern, and she would have been a fantastic therapist. I should know." The crowd laughed again as Olivia's eyes met Alexander's. A small tear escaped before she composed herself. "So tonight we're going to remember our dear friend. A friend who was taken from us far too soon, but whose memory will go on." She turned and walked back to the piano while Mo introduced the first song they would be performing. The next hour seemed to pass by relatively quickly, with a few people getting on stage to talk about Melanie, some performing different poems, and others barely managing to get through what they wanted to say. The band played between speakers, mostly upbeat songs that Melanie enjoyed and her parents had requested. After the final speaker finished, Mo walked over and traded places with Olivia, sitting behind the piano. She grabbed a microphone, as did the rest of the band members. They stood alongside Olivia, ready to finish the song if she couldn't do it. Taking a step forward, she addressed the audience. This last song we'll be doing is one our good friend, Kira, who couldn't be here tonight, requested we perform. I'm sorry if it makes some of you cry. Olivia took another deep breath. Hell, I'm not even sure if I'll be able to get through it. This is Be Still by the Fray. Mo began to play, the simple chords of the song filling the bar. Not a sound could be heard. Apart from the gentle melody coming from the piano, Alexander listened as Olivia sang the simple, haunting tune, saying goodbye to Melanie. He didn't even know the girl that well, but he couldn't help but feel Olivia's loss, and Tyler's. He glanced around the bar and everyone was breaking out tissues, crying softly for the unbearable pain of losing someone so young. His eyes found Melanie's parents in the audience, remorse overwhelming him as he watched them clutching onto each other, seeing their bodies shake from their tears. He wondered whether he was doing the right thing. His failure to tell Olivia everything may have caused their pain. Was their suffering really worth it? He was unsure. He knew the pain they were going through all too well. He went through the same thing when he thought he had lost Olivia all those years ago. Now that he knew where she was it his fault that those poor people had lost their own daughter? There wasn't a dry eye in the place when Olivia finished the song. She took a deep breath, surprised that she had actually made it all the way through without cracking. She looked down, grabbing her glass off the bar stool in front of her and raised it. To Melanie, she said, her chin quivering as the emotion of the song overcame her. She ran off the stage, desperately needing a friend, only to remember that two of the people she normally ran to when she was upset weren't there. Kira was in the hospital and Melanie would never be able to smack some sense into her again. It broke Olivia's heart. She ran toward the restroom, wondering why she even cared if people saw her crying. Half the audience was still sobbing. Midway across the room, she stopped and sank to the ground, not able to take another step, her cries overtaking her entire body. Hey, hey, Mo said, rushing to her and sitting on the floor next to her, pulling her into his arms. He looked up to see Alexander standing over them both. Mo glared at him in warning, and he took several steps back, giving them their space. It's not fair. Mo, Olivia sobbed, using his shirt as a tissue. I just don't want to admit that she's gone, and this feels so final. I'm just not ready to say goodbye to her. Shh, Mo soothed her. This isn't goodbye. You don't have to say goodbye to her. This is just kind of until we meet again. I want to fucking kill them all. Mo, I'm sorry, I just can't stop crying. I wish I could, but I can't. Olivia felt another set of arms around her and glanced to her left to see Bridget carrying a box of tissues, joining her and Mo on the floor. I came prepared, she joked through her own tears, handing Olivia the box. She smiled weakly. I wish I had. Mo rubbed her back, helping her work through her tears. As they subsided, he grabbed her chin, bringing her eyes flush with his. Feel better now, baby girl? She nodded. Good, because we've got a show to do, he replied, pulling both Olivia and Bridget up. I'll be right there, Olivia said. Just give me a minute. Okay, baby girl, Mo said, hugging her and planting a chaste kiss on her forehead. She walked over to the bar to get another drink, watching as Melanie's parents took down all the photos of their daughter. Many of the guests left the area as normal bar patrons began to flood the second floor to see the band perform their regular set. Olivia approached Melanie's mother as she was about to remove a framed photo from the piano. Leave that one, she said, grabbing her arm. Please, she implored. Sandra smiled. Of course. And thank you, Olivia, dear. I know you must be so confused right now, thinking that this is all Alexander's fault. Olivia looked at her in shock. Tyler told us all about it and we spoke with Alexander this evening. He feels extremely guilty for what happened, but the thing is, I don't blame him. And I don't blame you. The only person I blame is sitting in a jail cell right now. But if he hadn't kept secrets from me, none of this would have happened. Sandra took a deep breath. Maybe not. We'll never know. But what I do know is that it's not worth losing someone over. Haven't you already lost enough? Olivia looked at her and simply nodded. Maybe I just want him to stop keeping things from me. Oh, dear, Sandra said, smiling. Melanie looked so much like her mother. The resemblance was remarkable. We always tend to keep things from people we love to protect them. It's our human nature. She wrapped her arms around Olivia. Thank you for everything. Olivia contemplated her words for a moment as she watched her walk away. Maybe she was right. She had lost enough already. Losing Melanie was one more person than she had ever wanted to. And here she was pushing Alexander away because he was trying to protect her. But she wanted to know who she was. Mo walked up to Olivia, a concerned look on his face. Hey, are you okay? You ready? Olivia looked over to see Alexander standing at the bar, drinking a beer. Yes. Olivia climbed onto the stage, helping the guys rearrange the set and pushing the baby grand piano toward the center. Dale sat behind the drum set, and Mo stood off to the side with his guitar as the other band members hung back. How's everyone doing tonight? She asked, her voice void of emotion. She took a deep breath and began to introduce her song. Sorry if we're kind of out of it tonight, but we all lost a dear friend a few weeks ago. Her name was Melanie Brooks, and that's her photo sitting on the piano. I hate to think her death could have been avoided if it weren't for all the fucking secrets. She looked at Alexander, his eyes growing wide in response to her words. I don't know what else I can say to you anymore, she continued, her voice quivering. I just want the truth. Taking a deep breath, she positioned her hands on the piano. This is Come Clean by Tristan Prettyman. Alexander listened as she began to play the opening chords of the song, her sad voice filling the bar. Her eyes met his as she begged him to tell her what she wanted to know. At that instant, he realized that Olivia deserved to know who she was, where she came from. She deserved to know her family, and it was selfish for him to keep her past from her any longer, regardless of what the consequences were. He turned away, unable to look into her cold, hard stare any longer. As he walked out of the bar, he knew the only way to hold on to her was to do what she was begging him to do. He needed to come clean. Chapter 31 Belong Together. Delivery for Miss Adler. Olivia heard one morning several weeks later, waking her up. She groggily dragged herself off the couch toward the front door. Who the fuck is banging at my door on a Friday morning? She muttered under her breath. She looked through the peephole and saw several men dressed in military fatigues with boxes stacked high. What is all of this? She asked, opening the door, glancing up the street. A disappointed look crossed her face when she met Carter's eyes and not Alexander's sitting watch outside in the SUV. He had been mysteriously absent from her security detail since Melanie's memorial service. She wondered if he had decided to move on, not wanting to give her the information that she longed for. We're not privy to the contents, ma'am, he answered in a very matter-of-fact manner. Mr. Burnham just asked us to safeguard the boxes as they were transported here this morning. Okay. She stepped aside to allow the men to enter her house, her heart fluttering in her chest at the mention of Alexander's name. Where would you like everything? There are over 50 boxes. She led them to the large guest bedroom off the living room. Go ahead and put them in here. Please. She watched as the men entered her home and stacked the boxes, rather efficiently, where she had asked them to. One person checked off the numbers on the boxes, matching them with a spreadsheet as they were brought in. Once he was able to ensure that everything was present and accounted for, Olivia signed the manifest and was left alone in her house, wondering what all the boxes contained. She spied an envelope attached to one and decided to begin there. My dearest Olivia, I've thought long and hard about what to do. I know that you're desperate for information about your past. I hope you find some answers in these boxes. My dad, apparently, kept everything that belonged to you, so I'm returning it all. Maybe these will help you to remember your life before the accident. What I don't want to tell you, but I know I have to, is what those men are after. You see, your father was a CIA analyst, and he became suspicious that certain people in the agency and other governmental agencies were making deals for U.S. military equipment and intelligence with known terror organizations. He had amassed evidence to that tune. Instead of keeping it at work where anyone could have found out what he did, he brought it home. He became concerned that someone was onto him, so he wanted to hide it. He locked it in a small chest for safekeeping until he could turn it over to the right hands. Of course, you were just a little girl at the time and you didn't know, but you wanted to play your little treasure map game. That's why these guys are after you. You hid those documents and these people want them. Please heed my warning. These people are dangerous. Olivia, if you do remember what happened to that chest you buried all those years ago, your usefulness is gone. They will kill you, and I cannot have that happen. We will find a way to make sure that everyone gets taken down and that you survive. I will protect you. I will always protect you. I love you with all my heart. Yours forever, Alexander. P.S. Please burn this letter immediately upon reading. XOXO, your own personal mercenary in training, smiling. She grabbed a matchbook from her mantel in the living room and held the flame to the piece of paper, knowing that Alexander wouldn't want that information getting into the wrong hands. Retreating back into the guest room, she lifted the lid off the first box she saw and began sorting through all the photos she came across. There were hundreds, spanning the first 6 years of her life. A tear escaped when she found one from when she was probably not even a week old. A small boy sat in a rocking chair, holding a little baby with a full head of dark hair. She turned the photo over and saw what she remembered to be her mother's handwriting. Alex 2 years and Olivia 5 days, Mystic House. She lived in Mystic. Maybe that's why everything seemed so familiar when Alexander took her there. Anxious to learn more, she spent all day sorting through hundreds of old photos. She would laugh and cry, sometimes both at the same time, as memories came flooding back. Alexander really was an important part of her life from early on. He was in nearly every photo with her. There were pictures from birthday parties, summers on the beach, and various holidays. The hours wore on as she continued to learn about the life that she knew nothing about. She had rummaged through a few boxes, but was beginning to feel overwhelmed by everything that still remained. She decided to sort through one more box before calling it a night. Her heart stopped when she pulled back the lid. "Mr. Bear," she cried out, grabbing the stuffed animal and hugging it close to her body. The large powder pink bear must have been the same size as she was as a little girl. Inhaling deeply, she snuggled with her childhood toy. A memory came flooding back. She had gone to the boardwalk with Alexander and her mother one summer day while they were spending time at the beach. Olivia remembered what a whiny little brat she had been as a child and was surprised that Alexander would even put up with it when he could have been playing with other boys. She had seen that bear as a prize at one of the boardwalk game stands. She begged and begged for Alexander to win it for her. He had spent nearly all afternoon trying to capture the prize she wanted. As they were about to close for the day, he finally got the ring around the bottle. Olivia remembered kissing him on the mouth. "You got that bear the day you kissed me for the first time." Olivia turned her head toward the doorway, surprised to see Alexander standing there, his hands sheepishly placed in his pockets. "Yeah, but I had to give myself a cooties shot after that, if I recall correctly." She smirked playfully at him. He grinned, taking a few steps closer to where Olivia sat on the floor, clutching her bear. "Yes, you did. Do you remember what you said that day?" he asked, sitting down next to her. She stared deep into his eyes. "I told you that you'd have to marry me to make an honest woman out of me." Alexander erupted in laughter, the sound bringing a smile to Olivia's face. "That you did." His eyes narrowed and his laughter died down. "I still plan on marrying you, Olivia." She sighed, looking at her bear. "I know. Alexander, you've just dropped a bomb on me and I need some time to process all of this." "Okay," he replied, clutching her hands in his. "I'll give you all the time you need. Just please don't do anything stupid now that you know everything." Olivia stood up, grabbing her bear. "But I don't know everything. I can't remember playing that treasure map game for the life of me." He raised himself off the floor and walked over to her, placing his hands on her shoulders. "Hey, it's okay." His voice was full of compassion. That's what all this stuff is here for. To help you remember. It's going to take more than a day to figure it all out. But I'm here to fill in the blanks if you need me to. Olivia lifted herself onto her tiptoes and placed a soft kiss on his lips. Thank you, Alexander. She looked at him and his eyes were still closed. God, your lips are so soft. She pressed her lips to his again. He moaned before slipping his tongue in her mouth, caressing hers. Olivia giggled, pulling away from the kiss. You better watch it, or I'm going to have to give myself another cooties shot. He grabbed her waist and pulled her body flush with his. I think we're far past worrying about cooties. Don't you agree? His eyes became hooded and Olivia's heart started to race. She nodded and dropped Mr. Bear to the ground, unable to break her eyes away from Alexander's. He gently lowered his mouth to hers. I still haven't forgiven you, she murmured against his lips. What's it going to take for you to do that? He planted soft kisses up and down her neck. Tell me, please, Alexander. He pulled back, searching her eyes. What? Love? You know what? I want to hear you say it. What you used to call me all those years ago. What I've heard you calling me in my dreams all these years. A sly grin crossed his face. I love you, Olivia. Her heart swelled and she grabbed his head in her hands, forcing his lips against hers. He picked her up and pinned her against the wall. She wrapped her legs around his waist. Do you feel that, baby? You feel what you do to me, he asked, thrusting himself against her, burying his head in her neck. Olivia was aflame with the sensations coursing through her body from Alexander's touch. Tell me you feel this, Olivia, he begged. Tell me you feel how much I love you, how much I can't live without you. I do, Alexander. I feel it, she said, her breathing heavy. Then why do you constantly keep fighting it? She stared into his deep green eyes and shook her head. I don't know, she whispered. He crushed his lips back to hers, invading her mouth. Hold on tight. Beautiful. He held onto her thighs, and she tightened her grasp around his neck as he carried her up to the bedroom, slowly lowering her delicate frame onto the bed. Olivia kept her eyes trained on him as he quickly stripped out of his clothes. Climbing on the bed, he planted soft kisses down her collarbone, slowly lifting her shirt over her head. She bucked him with her hips. Something I can help you with? He asked with a hint of amusement in his voice. I need to feel your flesh on mine. Alex, I've missed this. Please, your wish is my desire. He lowered his body down hers and swiftly helped her remove her jeans and panties before making quick work of her bra. He raised himself back up, their eyes meeting. Have I told you how much I've missed you? He caressed her forehead in an affectionate manner. I'm not talking about just these past few weeks. Olivia, he said sweetly, when I was growing up, too, I missed you so much. I never gave up hope that I would find you. You're my heart. I love you. Olivia. She grabbed his neck and forced her lips to his mouth, invading it with her tongue and running her fingers up and down his back. She was so overwhelmed with emotion at Alexander's passionate words. Alex, she said breathlessly, tearing her mouth away from his while he gently nibbled at her neck. She threw her head back, giving him easier access. Her body flamed with lust and yearning from his attentive touch. What is it, Olivia? He asked between kisses. I need you. She wrapped her legs around his waist. Please, Alexander, she implored, closing her eyes as millions of tremors ran through her veins. He wasn't even inside her, but she felt like she was ready to fall apart. She was experiencing the same amazing sense of excitement from his closeness as she did the very first time she set eyes on him on State Street back a year ago. Say it. Olivia, he whispered against her neck. Please, I need to hear those words come out of your mouth. His voice was soft and sincere. She opened her eyes, gazing at the boy with green eyes. Alexander, I need you to make love to me. He brought his hand up to her face, gently caressing her cheek. She leaned into him as he lovingly admired her. You are so beautiful. Olivia, he whispered, brushing that one wayward curl out of her eyes. His lips met hers. their kiss delicate as he ran his hand up and down her body, savoring every inch of her silky flesh. She moaned into his mouth, his hand leaving a trail of fire as it roamed her body. "Please, Alexander, I need to feel you," he grinned. "You will. Let me love you, Olivia. Good things come to those who wait." She threw her arm over her head, ready to fall apart from just a simple brush of his hand. "I'm dying here. Please. Patience. Beautiful." He winked as he lowered his head, gently licking her collarbone, his lips traveling down to her breasts. He circled her nipple with his tongue, blowing on it. Olivia arched her back in response, savoring the warmth of his tongue and the cold air on her chest. "I love your breasts, Olivia," he said sweetly. "Just one of the many things about you that I love." He returned his mouth to her, licking and sucking as he made his way down her body. Her breathing became ragged in anticipation when she sensed his warm breath between her legs. She was pretty sure that the second she felt his tongue on her, she would come undone. Her mind raced as she thought how one person could have such an effect on her. It was unlike anything she ever thought possible. Maybe it was because they belonged together, like Alexander had said time and time again. "Alex," she moaned when she felt his tongue press on the most sensitive part of her body. He slowly traced over her swollen clit, sucking gently as he worshipped her with his mouth. "I love the way you taste. Olivia, I know I say that all the time, but I just can't get enough of you." He returned his tongue to her, continuing his circular pattern. He loved being able to please her like this. Olivia moved against him, needing some sort of release after weeks of frustration. "Please, Alex." "What? Love?" He glanced up, watching her chest heaving. A smile crossed his face when he saw how she responded to him, even after everything they had endured those past few months. "Is it too much I'll stop?" "Don't you dare," she screamed. "I'm close, Alex, but I don't want to come yet." He eased a finger inside her, knowing that was going to send her to the brink and over in a matter of seconds. He knew her body, and he loved being able to give her what she needed, even if she didn't even realize what that was. She moaned out, the sensation of Alexander's tongue and finger too much, pushing her body higher and higher before crumbling beneath his expert tongue. Her orgasm consumed every fiber of her being as she shook on the bed. "I'll never tire of giving you what you need, Olivia," he said, raising himself and hovering over her. "That's my only mission in life, to give you everything you need. I'll never keep anything from you again, I promise, and I mean it." His face was full of sincerity. Olivia grabbed his head, pulling it down to hers, and kissed him with more passion than she ever had. She couldn't imagine her life without Alexander in it, and she never wanted to go through another day without him by her side. "Please, Alex, make love to me," she begged once more. She wanted to feel the love he had for her, even though she felt it with the way he looked at her day in and day out. He positioned himself between her legs and slowly entered her, filling her as he leaned down, his movement gentle. "I love you, Olivia," he said quietly as he communicated with his body exactly how special she was to him. "I love you too, Alex." Her nerves tingled as she met his tender pace. She grabbed his face and brought his mouth back to hers. "I just can't stop kissing you," she explained with a smile on her face before planting another passionate kiss on him. "I don't ever want to stop tasting your lips." Alexander beamed. "Good." He slowly flexed toward her, his breathing becoming ragged. "We've come a long way from those cootie shots then, haven't we?" Olivia grinned, running her fingers up and down his back, savoring the feeling of his muscles beneath her hands. She felt his movements become erratic and knew he was ready to fall apart. She ran her tongue across his neck. "I've always loved you, Alex," she whispered. "Always." Her sweet words filled Alexander's heart with more love than he thought possible, and he shuddered, his orgasm taking him by surprise. "I can't survive without you, Olivia. You're my heart, and I'll die without you." He pushed into her until the last of his tremors subsided, slowly withdrawing from her and pulling her into his body. Sleep now, beautiful Olivia. Chapter 32. Recollection. Daddy. Daddy, let's play a game! A young Olivia exclaimed when she saw her father walk into her family's large beach estate. He had been gone for weeks and she missed him. She loved to play with her mama, but her daddy played lots of fun games with her too. Hi, princess. What game did you want to play? Olivia spotted several small chests stacked against the bookcase in the great room. Let's play treasure map. But this time, I'm hiding the treasure, she answered excitedly, running over and grabbing one of the closed chests. Olivia's father smiled. Okay, do you think you can do a good enough job at hiding it? I'm pretty good at finding things. Livy, she beamed. Daddy, please, where I hide this, you'll never find it. I can't wait to draw you a map. She ran out of the room. You better not cheat. Daddy, he chuckled. I wouldn't dream of it, princess. Later that night, Olivia climbed out of her bed, trying to be quiet so that she didn't wake her sleeping parents. She tiptoed down the hall and out the basement door that led to the beach. Running quickly down the private beach, she came across the old dilapidated pile of rocks. She knew she wasn't supposed to go near them, and that made it the perfect hiding spot. Plus, her daddy wasn't nearly small enough to fit in the cave fort that she and her best friend could squeeze into. She gingerly crawled inside and buried the chest underneath the sand in the cave. She smiled to herself. Her daddy would never find the chest there. See, Olivia's eyes flung open, taking in the pitch-black room. Of course, she thought to herself. It was all starting to come back to her. Alexander was right. Seeing photos and items from her past was helping her remember. She recalled playing that treasure map game with her father. He wasn't around a great deal, but when he was, she loved playing games with him. She gently pried herself from Alexander's arms and legs, sitting up in bed and staring at the beautiful man next to her. Her stomach churned and she began to feel nauseous. Dashing from the bed, she ran down the stairs, locking herself away in the guest bathroom and vomiting up the contents of her stomach. Shit, she thought to herself. Shit, shit, shit. As she continued to lean over the toilet, she did the math in her head, flushing the remnants of her dinner down the toilet. She leaned against the wall, trying to figure out what to do. Her period was several weeks late, and she was never late. The past few days, she had been feeling slightly nauseous, but she thought that was due to stress. Now, she was starting to rethink everything. Raising herself off of the floor, she took in her appearance in the mirror. She didn't look any different. I don't think you change overnight. Libby, she said to herself, standing on her toes and looking at a side view of her stomach. Shaking her head, she opened the door to the bathroom, not wanting to think about what it all meant. She wasn't ready for that yet. Not until she could be sure her friends would be safe. Making her way toward the couch, she debated what to do. After her dream, she finally had an idea about the treasure map game she used to play with her dad. But there was something about that memory that was telling her that those papers weren't buried where she thought. She couldn't quite put her finger on it, so, for the time being, she had to trust the memory that she did have. As she continued looking through the boxes, memories flooding back every time she found something else. She felt Alexander's arms slink around her. He leaned down and softly kissed her shoulder. Morning, love, he said. I woke up and you were gone. I hate that. His face was in the most adorable pout Olivia had ever seen. She wanted to bite his lower lip as it protruded out. Her heart raced at the thought that she might be pregnant with his child. She debated whether she should say anything. But if she did, and it ended up being true, he would never let her out of his sight. He couldn't know. For the time being, she wasn't even sure that she really was pregnant. Smiling, she raised herself off the ground, brushing her lips against his. I'm sorry. I just couldn't sleep knowing all this stuff is down here. She lied. You have the rest of your life to sort through it all. She exhaled slowly. I know, but I've been trying to figure out who I am for years. Having all this information here at my disposal is a little overwhelming. I get it. He planted a kiss on her forehead, walking toward the kitchen and popping a pod in her coffee brewer. "Coffee?" he asked. Olivia nodded, watching as Alexander made her a coffee, a warm feeling overtaking her. It felt as if she finally knew where she belonged, almost as if she finally had a family. Almost. "It feels so good to be out of that fucking house of death and disease," Kira said Saturday afternoon as Olivia helped lead her to the couch. The hospital finally cleared her for home rest, and the police had released her house so it was no longer considered a crime scene. "Kay, are you sure you want to stay here?" Mo asked, his eyes full of concern. "Jack, stop it. I'm not going to have this conversation with you every day. I need to stay here. I need to make new memories in this house with you." Olivia warmed at her friend's sweet words and Mo's beaming smile in response. They were so happy together. As she sat visiting with Kira throughout the weekend, the location of the documents lay heavy on her mind, as did the constant bouts of nausea and headaches. She felt guilty for not telling anyone that she knew what those guys were after. But she knew that Alexander and the rest of her friends would not allow her to do what she had to do. Monday morning, Olivia woke up before Alexander, running into her bathroom, hoping he wouldn't hear as she threw up once more. She made a mental note that it would probably be best to finally take a pregnancy test, but she wasn't sure she wanted confirmation of that fact. Slowly opening the door and peering at the bed, she breathed a sigh of relief when she saw that Alexander hadn't moved. Gingerly walking back to the bed, she crawled in beside him, hoping he hadn't noticed she was gone. Her heart raced when he groaned, stretching, before pulling her body into his. "Morning. Beautiful," he murmured into her ear. "You okay?" She turned to face him. "Of course, I am. Why are you asking that?" She searched his face, looking for any indication that he had heard her. A mischievous grin spread across his mouth. "Well, just making sure you're not sore after last night." She playfully punched him, relieved that he hadn't heard her throwing up. "You're so full of yourself, aren't you?" "Maybe a little," he replied, his eyes bright. "But you still love me." Olivia smiled in response, snuggling against his chest. "Of course I do." Alexander turned to Olivia later that morning as they stood by her front door, saying goodbye. "I can have all those boxes brought over to the penthouse. I miss having you there. So do Runner and Nepenthe," he said. She exhaled loudly. "I know. I miss them too. I want to do this here. I don't know why. I just do." He hesitated, wondering why she felt so strongly about that. But he didn't want to make her angry with him yet again. It wasn't worth it. Anyway, Marshall and Carter had agreed to sit watch outside of her house for the time being. "Okay, beautiful. Whatever you need." He leaned down and planted a gentle kiss on her lips. I'll see you later on," she said, brushing her lips against Alexander's. I love you too," she replied, watching as he walked down the steps and into the waiting SUV, Martin at the wheel. Throughout the morning, she sorted through more boxes, still trying to figure out why she didn't think the documents were buried in the chest. Just when she was ready to give up, her phone began ringing. She was surprised to see Simon's number appear on the screen. A smile crossed her face as she thought about how he had become someone she could depend on over the last few months. Someone who would give her the advice she so desperately needed. "Hey, Simon." "Hi, Libby. I was just checking in on you to see how everything's going. I heard about Melanie. How are you holding up?" "I'm doing better." He came clean. "Simon?" His heart began racing. "What do you mean?" "Alexander told me everything about my past. He sent over all this stuff his father had kept." "His father?" Simon asked in confusion. "Don't worry about that right now," she replied quickly. "That's not important. What is important is that all these photos, trinkets, stuff like that, have helped me remember things. I'm starting to figure it out. I know what those guys are after." "Simon." Her voice was excited and pressing at the same time. "So, where is it?" he asked urgently. Olivia hesitated briefly. She didn't want to actually tell anyone the location. What if he found the documents and they got into the wrong hands because he was careless with them until Olivia could be certain they would be protected? She didn't want to divulge the location to anyone. "Come on, Olivia, you can trust me. I have a pretty good idea. but I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to say anything until I'm certain about its location. I'll come over and we can go get it now, he said rather impatiently. I mean, let's go where you think it could be. Might as well try, right? He laughed nervously. Olivia immediately became suspicious of Simon. He was acting odd, almost a little too eager to help. She recalled their conversation several months ago during her run. At one point, he had said that he was paid to date her for the sole purpose of obtaining information about her past. It was entirely possible that he didn't change things around in prison and was still on the payroll. Perhaps it was all a front. That would explain a lot of things. Why he was being so nice to her. Why the guy in Kira's house had gotten away even after Simon said he was out cold. She sank into the couch, angry at herself that she didn't see it all beforehand, and now she had told him that she remembered. Simon, she said calmly, trying to hide her nerves. I'm still trying to figure everything out. He exhaled loudly, his irritation apparent. Well, you do that. Libby, I gotta go. He hung up the phone, leaving Olivia with her unsettled thoughts about what she had just divulged to him. She thought about letting Alexander know of her suspicions, but that would mean telling him she had been speaking with Simon. She knew for a fact that he would not handle that information well. He would make sure that she couldn't leave the house without heavy security presence, and, when the time came and she figured it all out, she needed to be able to get away without a tail following her. She had already begun to formulate a plan. But would it work? Simon, I hope you have some very good news for me after your phone call to Olivia today. She remembers. She says she thinks she knows where it is. Donovan smiled. That's wonderful news. So where is it? Simon exhaled loudly. She won't tell me. Why the fuck not? Donovan asked angrily. I don't know. I don't think she really remembers it all clearly. She said she had a good idea where it was, but wasn't certain. God damn it, Simon. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to make her remember. I want that box in my fucking hand by the end of the week or I will kill you. Simon's hands began to shake. He had seen what Donovan's goons were capable of. He was not to be messed with. Fine. I'm going to need a window where she won't have her security detail with her. Burnham's been on her ass since the attacks. I'll arrange it and let you know the time and place. Get it done. Simon? Yes, sir. Oh, and Simon? Yes. Grant will assist you. At least he gets shit done. Yes, sir. Simon hung up, suddenly nervous about what he was going to have to do. Chapter 33. Premonition. Thursday morning. Olivia woke with an unsettling premonition about what the day would bring. She couldn't shake the suspicion that something bad was about to happen. Ever since Simon's reaction on Monday, she was on edge about everything. For once, she embraced the protection detail that Alexander had set up for her. As she walked back into her house after kissing Alexander goodbye, a chill came over her. The house was eerily quiet while she sorted through the last few boxes that she had been anxious to look at. She was desperate to know why the memory of the treasure map she drew for her father stuck out in her head, as if the chest wasn't buried there. She was having trouble focusing that morning after finally taking a pregnancy test and getting confirmation of her suspicions. She grabbed her iPad and began streaming music to the surround sound speakers, hoping it would help clear her mind. After setting her playlist to shuffle, she returned to a box containing photos. She looked at the date stamped in the bottom left corner of the pictures, August 24th. Her jaw dropped when she saw the year. They must have been taken right before she and her parents left the beach house the day of the accident. Olivia wondered how there could have been any photos. Then she noticed that they were mostly of her mother. It looked like there was a small finger over the viewfinder, slightly obscuring them all. I guess I was some photographer back in the day, she said, joking. As she continued sorting through the photos, Olivia felt chills again, wondering if it was just a coincidence that Seven Devils started blaring through her speakers. She never really believed in signs or coincidences, but something about that Florence and the Machine song playing at that moment made her think that something horrible was about to happen. Alexander sat in his office on Thursday afternoon, scouring through Olivia's parents' bank statements. There were numerous suspicious deposits. And then there was that mysterious piece of paper with his father's writing on it in some sort of code. He still didn't know what it all meant. Nothing was making any sense to him. He was trying to figure out whether the deposits were just distributions from Marilyn's various investments, but it was difficult to ascertain the source. Apparently, it had concerned Alexander's father, but it seemed that he became paranoid the last few years of his life. Alexander didn't know what to make of it, or whether he should put any faith in his father's work at all. His mind kept wandering off, thinking about how he should have been getting married that weekend. It saddened him that things had been put on hold for a little bit, but he knew that once everything settled down, he would marry his Olivia. "Hey," Alex Carroll said from the sitting area in his office, looking through some of her father's old files, trying to help him put the pieces together. "Yeah, how do you think they found out that Dad was protecting Olivia?" She had a quizzical look on her face. "Your guess is as good as mine." "Why?" He glanced up from the bank statements, the numbers giving him a headache. "I mean, do you think maybe someone inside the company?" "No," Alexander said forcefully before calming himself down. "You know how Dad operated. You know how we still operate to this very day." Carol sighed. "I know, but that would explain a few things. I'm going through some of Dad's old notes. These people found out about South Carolina. That's probably why he insisted she come to college up here, so he could keep a closer eye on her. There's no way he would let anyone know where she was. Maybe we need to start looking inside the box." "But that would mean," Carol interrupted, "that if there was an inside man, that person may still be with the company." "Shit," Alexander said, picking up his phone. "Marie, I want employment records of everyone who has worked here for the past 8 years. Focus on employees who are still employed here." Carol glanced over at her brother. "I'm probably wrong. Alex?" She turned back to her father's notes. "I hope you are," he replied, returning his tired eyes back to the financial records, kicking himself for not exploring that line of thought earlier. Later that afternoon, Olivia heard her cell phone buzz, thankful to have the momentary distraction. Everything was all a big puzzle that she desperately wanted to solve. She felt like she was close, but there was one big clue missing: Alexander. "Hey, love. Something came up here at the office, and I'm going to be a little late. Do not, under any circumstances, leave your house, even with any of your escorts. I'll explain later. I love you." "That's odd," Olivia thought, as she glanced out her bay window and saw Agent Marshall sitting watch in the SUV. All of a sudden, she heard a deep voice speaking on a cell phone just outside of her window. "We're in front of this bitch's house, boss," the voice said, sending shivers up Olivia's spine. She quickly lowered herself, hoping no one had seen her. The voice sounded so familiar. "Simon will get the girl to go with him. Cheryl is turning the other way and says she'll play dumb when questioned by Burnham." Olivia gasped, trying to muffle the sound with her hand. Agent Marshall was in on it. It all started to make sense. Every time she had seen Simon or Adele was when Marshall was on watch. No one else. Only her. Almost instantly, there was a loud knock at the door. "Olivia, it's Simon. We need to talk." "Shit," Olivia said under her breath, her eyes falling on the last picture she had been looking at before reading Alexander's text. A strong memory rushed back. Quickly, she grabbed the few things that would lead Alexander to the truth and, hopefully, her. She laid them on her kitchen island before propping Mr. Bear up on the bar stool. It was all she could do for now. She jumped when she heard a loud knock on the door again. "Olivia, open up!" With shaky hands, she texted Alexander, hoping it wouldn't be the last conversation she ever had with him. Making her way over to the door, she pulled it back, unsure of how to respond to Simon now that she knew everything. "Hi, Simon," she said, her voice unsteady. "Evening, Livy," he responded, pushing her back into her house and closing the front door. Olivia's eyes went wide at the greeting. Yes, the old Simon is back. He put his arm around her waist, pulling her flush with his body. Time to go find what those guys are looking for. He started to head toward the basement, pulling her along with him. She was right. She knew it. Her mind started racing. Simon, wait. What is it? He growled. This isn't you, she said softly. You're not this guy anymore. You're better than this. I like the new Simon much better. He stopped in his tracks, his eyes brimming with remorse. I have to. Olivia. They'll kill me if I don't do this. She could feel his body start to shake. Grant is waiting out back. There's no fucking way out. Don't you think I've tried to come up with another way? They knew I wasn't ready to go through with it. But I know too much. I don't have a choice. Olivia. Grant? Who's Grant? Simon exhaled loudly. He's the guy who attacked Kira. That's why the voice out front sounded so familiar. It was him. Olivia's heart raced, her chin quivering from the memory of Kira's lifeless body. Did the same fate await her? Libby, please. I don't know what else to do. If you don't come with us, I'm dead. I swear to you. I will find a way to help you, but you have to come with me, to save me and yourself. Do you understand? A tear fell down her cheek. Yes, I understand. She just hoped that the clues she left were enough. We need to go. I'm going to have to be rough with you, but I promise I will try to find a way to help you. Okay. She nodded her head and Simon led her down the hallway, still grasping her waist rather roughly. Wait, one last thing. She released herself from Simon's hold and headed back to the kitchen. Grabbing her cell phone, she noticed that her last text never went through. Leave the phone, Libby, Simon said softly. Put it down. They can track it. Olivia nodded in defeat, placing her cell back on the kitchen island, her eyes brimming with tears at the finality of it all. She took the engagement ring off her hand and placed it on top of a photo of her and Alexander sitting on the rocks by the house. She hoped that with those clues, he would know where she would be and the location of the hidden documents. She said a silent prayer that he would understand everything and that he would get there in time to save her. Simon grabbed her roughly after she walked back to the hallway. Her hands shook at the thought that she was about to sit in a car for 2 hours with a man who probably wanted to kill her. I'm so sorry, Libby, he whispered as he walked her through the hallway and down the stairs leading to the back door. Simon, wait! Olivia stopped, her voice shaking from fear. We can run, both of us, right now. You don't have to do this. His eyes searched her face, contemplating her words. A car door slammed loudly, startling them both. Simon knew it was useless. There was no way out, but he was going to do his best to help her. He put his finger up to his lips, giving Olivia a compassionate look, as if saying what words alone couldn't. I'm so sorry. Just go along, he whispered. I'll save you. I promise. Even if I have to put my own life on the line, I will make sure you get out of this alive. Her entire body began to tremble as Simon picked her up, throwing her over his shoulder. What the fuck is the holdup? Simon Grant roared, banging on the back door. Nothing. I've got the bitch. Simon growled. Let's get a move on. He opened the door and walked to the desolate back alley where a sole black sedan waited. He threw Olivia into the back seat before getting into the passenger seat. Olivia looked up as the large man got in behind the wheel and turned around. Evening, beautiful, he said, licking his lips. Don't even think about touching her. Grant, Simon said forcefully before turning his attention back to Olivia. Now, Livy, tell me. Where to? He pointed a gun at her head, a solemn look on his face. Chatham, on the Cape, she replied softly. That's a good girl. Grant grabbed her ankle and ran his fingers up her bare legs. The contact made Olivia sick to her stomach. She wished she had worn more than just a sundress. Simon fished his cell phone out of his pocket, still keeping his gun trained on Olivia. Donovan, it's Simon. We have the girl and we're on our way to Chatham. Good news. Do not do anything until backup arrives. We cannot have a repeat of the last time. Even more backup. My client is on his way. He wants to help take care of the girl. Shit, Simon thought. Chapter 34, Chaos. Alexander pored through employment records all afternoon and into the evening. He was looking for anything that seemed out of the ordinary, but so far, he had come up empty. He had sent Olivia's parents' financial records to one of his top forensic accountants to start combing through. He hated involving anyone else in what was going on because he didn't know who he could trust, but he didn't see any alternative. He couldn't make any sense out of the records, so he hoped someone else could. Fun way to spend a Thursday night. Huh, Carol commented several hours later, breaking the deafening silence that had occupied his office all afternoon. Sure is, he replied, looking up from the papers in front of him. Thanks again for all your help. Carol, I know you'd rather be spending your time with Dave. She smiled. No problem. Anything to help you out? I'm certainly looking forward to collecting on this debt you owe me, though, she joked before turning back to the papers in front of her, her brow furrowing as she scanned the file in front of her. What did you find something? Alexander asked, noticing her expression. His heart started racing as he saw Carol flip frantically through various documents. Shit, she said quietly, not wanting to believe what she was reading. Alexander rushed over to the couch, looking at the name of the employee record she had been going through. Carol. He looked at her, his eyes pleading. Please, tell me. I'm sorry. Alex. Random small deposits adding up to a lot of money during the months leading up to Dad's death. Then nothing. He grabbed the file out of her hands and began flipping through the pages. No, it can't be. She was questioned about it after Dad's death, and during each of her quarterly background checks. It's right here in the file. It's part of her divorce settlement. Carol peered at the papers in Alexander's hands, flipping through the file with him. How do you explain the timing? Though she stopped getting that money right after Dad's death. And then the suspicious deposits started again around the same time that you met Olivia. It could just be a coincidence, but the timing is perfect. Fuck! Alexander shouted, his voice panicked. Call Dave, he ordered Carol before bolting out of his office. Martin, let's go. Within a few minutes, Martin slammed on the brakes in front of Olivia's house. Alexander was furious when he saw Marshall sitting behind the wheel of her own SUV, keeping watch over the house as if nothing was wrong. He jumped out of the vehicle, running toward the driver's side, and pulled her from the seat, slamming her against the hard metal exterior. The window shattered from the force of the impact. What the fuck did you do? He glared down at her, his voice full of rage. Sir, please. I don't know any more than you. I don't know where they're taking her. All I know is that I was ordered to look the other way today. Alexander's heart sank. He didn't know Olivia had actually been taken. Who has her? He quivered. I don't know, she lied. Where are they taking her? Only Olivia knows that. Fuck, Alexander screamed, handcuffing her and throwing her in the back of her own SUV. He ran inside Olivia's house, unable to make anything of the scene that greeted him. Papers and photos were all over the place. He took a deep breath, knowing that there may be a clue in the house. He slowly scanned the living room, his eyes stopping on a bunch of photos placed neatly on the kitchen island. He quickly strode over, his heart almost stopping when he saw the picture on top. The photo of them as children playing on the rocks outside the beach house lay just beneath her engagement ring. He immediately knew where she was taking them. His eyes glanced at another photo lying on the island. It was a photo of Olivia's mom. It looked as though she was mending a tear in Mr. Bear's stitching. The date on the corner of the photo was the same day as the accident. He wondered what it all meant. Why was this photo left on the island? It was almost as if Olivia left everything laid out perfectly, asking him to figure it all out. She was heading to the beach house, but the photo of her mom stitching up Mr. Bear, what did that mean? He grabbed the engagement ring and Mr. Bear off the stool, along with the rest of the photos. Bolting out of the house, he yelled for Martin to accompany him and gave him the address in Chatham where Olivia's beach estate was located. As Martin merged onto the Mass Pike, Alexander looked out of the window, desperate to find Olivia and save her because, this time, she actually needed saving. Okay, this is fucking ridiculous, Grant shouted, pulling over on the side of the road. Get her out of the car! Olivia had been anything but helpful in figuring out where the evidence they needed was supposedly hidden. No, I'm not getting out of the car. She looked around. There were no lights anywhere. It was deserted. She hadn't even seen another car for miles. "I told you where we needed to go," she begged. "Chatham. That's all I know. And we're in fucking Chatham." "Now where is the goddamn house?" Simon yelled. He hated having to shout at her like that, but he couldn't let it seem as if he was going easy on her. He had to act the part. "Simon, please. I don't remember. I only spent a few summers there when I was a little girl. Other than that, I can't remember anything, especially about how to get there. All I know is that it's a huge place right on the beach. I'd know it if I saw it." "Fine. Let's go to the coast then." Grant put the car in drive and tore out onto the street. "If you don't find it within the next 30 minutes, I will put a bullet through your head." Olivia whimpered as a tear fell down her face. After Alexander stormed out of his office, Carol remained behind, desperate to help her brother any way she could. They had figured out that Marshall was involved, but they still had no clue as to who was pulling the strings. She sat at his desk, trying to decipher her father's coded scribblings. Something wasn't adding up. She had put in a phone call to a few of Alexander's analyst guys who were good at tracking money transfers, even from offshore bank accounts, to see if they were able to find any suspicious connection between Kiddish and other people Olivia came into contact with. But that hadn't turned up anything yet. She had all but given up on trying to figure out who was behind everything when the phone rang. "Hey, Jimmy," she answered, wondering if he was able to find out anything from combing through the bank records. "Wait, slow down. What are you saying?" Carol sank into the chair, dropping her phone, as the shock of the news she had just been given overtook her entire body. She took a deep breath before making the phone call that could potentially destroy her brother's entire world. "Well, this must be it," Grant declared, pulling up a long driveway to an enormous shoreline estate. "It's the biggest house right on the beach in this town. I don't think they make 'em much bigger than this one. Bitch must be fucking loaded." Olivia looked up at the house. He was right. It was the house from her dreams and memories. "This was where I used to play with Alexander every summer," she said softly as Simon carefully helped her out of the car. "Oh, too bad," Grant said cruelly. "Now it's where you're going to die." He walked along the side of the car and opened the trunk, digging around for what he needed to complete the job. Olivia began to shake nervously, protectively clutching her stomach. Simon leaned close to her, his eyes intense. "When I tell you to, run." His voice was barely above a whisper, nearly inaudible over the crashing ocean waves. "Kick me in the stomach. Sell it. Your life depends on it." She looked at him, her eyes wide in surprise. "Do you understand?" he mouthed. She nodded slowly just as Grant came around to the side of the car, carrying a large duffel bag. Simon dragged her up the walkway toward the front entrance. "Don't worry," Grant laughed. "We'll keep you alive a little longer, as long as you're nice to us." Olivia felt sick to her stomach, bile forming in her throat as her brain ran through thousands of different scenarios about what Grant had in store for her. "Run," Simon whispered in her ear. "I don't fucking think so," she spat out, turning swiftly and kicking Simon in the stomach as hard as she could. Simon keeled over, clutching his stomach in pain. "You fucking bitch!" Olivia spun around and started to run, thankful that Grant hadn't been smart enough to bind her arms or legs. "Give me that fucking gun," Grant ordered Simon. "Or shoot her yourself." "She's too far, I don't have a shot," Simon shouted back, hoping to give her enough time to get away. "You're helping her, you fucking shit. You want her to get away." "No way, of course not." "Then go get her." Simon ran after Olivia, watching as she bolted up the remainder of the sandy path leading to the beach. She desperately hoped that there would be some people out for a twilight stroll. Her eyes searched the shoreline frantically, remembering that it was a private beach, when she heard the gunshot. "Ugh!" She screamed in pain, the bullet hitting her right shoulder. She fell to the ground, crying out. Simon ran up and held the gun over her. "I'm so sorry. I tried to miss you without making it too obvious," he said quietly, a tear falling from his eye as he looked at Olivia's bleeding body lying on the white sand. He quickly changed his expression when Grant caught up to him and kicked Olivia hard in the stomach. "Fuck!" she screamed, the sound of her ribs cracking making her want to vomit once more. The pain from the bullet wound and the unexpected assault to her stomach was overwhelming. "You do not run away from us, you fucking bitch!" Grant raised his boot and brought it down hard on her left foot, crushing the hundreds of tiny bones. Olivia howled out in agony, her eyes growing wide when she saw him raise his boot again, intending to break her other foot as well. "No," she screamed. "Please stop, I'll do anything." Grant slowed his action mid-strike and looked at her, rather turned on by the blood pouring from her body onto the beach. Anything he asked. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes. She nodded slowly as tears began to stream down her face, no longer from being in pain, but for what she knew Grant was probably planning at that moment. "Grant, you can't do this to her," Simon pleaded, trying to find a way to help her. He felt sick at the thought of Grant touching her. There were very strict instructions. She is not to be harmed until you know who gets here. Grant reached into the duffel bag and withdrew a gun, pointing it at Simon. "What the fuck, man?" Simon raised his own gun, aiming it at Grant instead of Olivia. "I'm just having a little fun, that's all. I'm not going to kill her. Yet. And if you try to interfere again, I'll fucking shoot you. Step aside and I won't tell Donovan that you told her to run." Grant returned to the duffel bag and produced several long rags, kneeling next to Olivia as she lay trembling on the beach. He gently caressed her face, making her cringe. "That's my girl," he said quietly. "Be good, and we won't have to shoot you again." "Okay." Olivia opened her eyes, staring into the evil black eyes in front of her. She simply nodded, not wanting to speak. "Good girl. But first, I need to make sure you won't try to get away from me." He quickly bound her hands together. "At least I've already made certain that you won't be able to walk." He laughed to himself. Olivia began to cry, mourning the loss of her legs. She had no chance of running away anymore. Simon had tried to help her, but he would risk his own life if he did so again. Her only hope now was Alexander. She prayed that he would be able to figure out the clues she left for him. "Before I forget, I know we're having a special guest. Don't want you recognizing who it is, so I better blindfold you too." She shook her head violently, not wanting the one sense she needed most to be taken from her. "Sorry. Beautiful. Rules are rules." Grant grabbed a rag and tied it tightly around her eyes. Olivia's world went dark. She would have to rely solely on her ears. She was doomed and she knew it. She screamed out in pain as Grant lifted her by the waist and dragged her body through the sand and up to the palatial beach house. After overriding the security system, he turned to Simon. "Get out of here. Stand watch out front," he growled. "Grant, what are you going to do?" Simon asked, his voice shaking. He raised his gun, pointing it at Simon's temple. "Leave or I pull the trigger." Simon knew he didn't have a choice. If he had any chance of trying to save Olivia, he had to play his cards right. And that meant listening to Grant for the time being. "Fine," he huffed, spinning around and slamming the door behind him. Grant smiled. "It will all be over soon, I promise." He carried Olivia through the foyer. "We just need to wait for our special guest to get here, and then you can tell us where that box is." Olivia willed herself to stop crying. That wasn't how she wanted to spend the last few minutes of her life. If she was going to die, she wanted to die on her own terms and not pleading for her life. "Wow, you should see this place," he remarked as he dragged her into a large, great room overlooking the coast. "Floor-to-ceiling ocean view in this room. I bet it's gorgeous during the day." Olivia knew the exact room they were in. There was a grand piano in the center that she recalled playing as a little girl. The space was open and airy with light beige-colored sofas on the far end facing the windows. The walls were wood-planked, and there were light drapes in front of the window. That's how she remembered it looking, at least. "Okay, this is good enough," Grant said, his breathing heavy from dragging Olivia all that distance. He dropped her on the floor, hoping to cause her even more pain. When she had barely any reaction to being thrown down, he turned to look at her. Her face looked almost peaceful, as if she had begun to accept her fate. That pissed Grant off. He liked it when she was scared of him. "Stand up," he yelled. Olivia started breathing heavy, thinking there would be no way she could actually stand up. He walked over to her and grabbed her ponytail. "I said stand up," he shouted, pulling Olivia up by the hair. Fuck! She screamed out once she was on her feet. She tried to keep most of the weight off her left foot. She had no idea what was going through Grant's head. On your knees. Olivia hesitated, unsure of how she could possibly obey the command and yet feel the least amount of pain. I said, on your knees. He kicked her in the small of the back, causing her to topple over and fall flat on her stomach. Her reflexes were slow from her arms being bound together, and she was unable to break her fall with her hands. Olivia felt Grant kneel next to her. She began to shake, feeling his hot breath on her neck. He grabbed her arms and hoisted them over her head, readjusting her restraint, attaching it to the leg of the grand piano. She tried to free herself, to no avail. Grant laughed. No use trying to run now. You're stuck. Olivia lay there, her breathing heavy. As several minutes passed, she heard Grant walking through the house before returning and rummaging through a duffel bag. Almost immediately, she felt him by her side, pushing up her dress. Dread overwhelmed her when she heard a snipping sound, squirming at the feel of the cold metal on her skin, cutting off her panties. Tears began falling even harder. She wanted to remain strong, but her entire body trembled in fear. She felt him run a finger down the length of her torso and desperately tried to buck him off her. But he simply laughed and then brought the gun to her temple. Stay still or I pull the fucking trigger. I don't give a shit if you're the only one who knows where the goddamn evidence is that these guys are looking for. Olivia swallowed, crying, feeling ashamed and humiliated, wanting Grant to pull the trigger instead.